making it out to Cogdale Learning Center for our Founders Blend. We're coming up here almost on 2 years of doing Founders Blend, which is so awesome. And we love to have Founders Blend in different areas. So we're excited to get to feature Cogdale Learning Center. How many of you, this is your first time ever being at Cogdale Learning Center? Awesome. Well, this is just one of the many resources that Midland College has. And the beauty of Founders Blend is we get to point out all of those different resources that our community has, from UT Permian Basin to Midland College to downtown at Second Story. And so we are just so happy to see you. Well, my name is Sammy Steele Thomas. I am formally with Midland Development Corporation, but I became a mom last year, and I thought, time you just don't get back. And so I am just enjoying some more time with this sweet little 9-month-old. But this will be my last time emceeing, but I'm so excited to get to feature 2 businesses. So how many of you, this is your first Founders Blend that you've been to? Raise your hand. Okay, we love the honesty there. So a lot of you already know what Founders Blend's format is like. So you're gonna hear, and this is good for you to know, you're gonna hear from 2 small businesses this morning, and they're gonna share just a little background as to what their business is, how they got started, a little bit of their entrepreneurial story, and then a majority of the time, about 20 minutes or so, is gonna be Q&A. So if during their presentation something comes up, or you already are familiar with that business and you think, hey, I need to ask about that, don't be shy. This is especially like a smaller, intimate space. So ask them questions. You can get as much out of something as you put into something. So try to pay attention. And then if you're shy and you're like, I don't really want to do any public speaking, well, good news. My phone number will be up here scrolling in a little bit, and you will be able to text me your question. Or if you just want to touch base with our speakers afterwards, they're all going to hang out afterwards, and you can ask them questions one-on-one if you would like that. Okay, well, before we get started, I want to thank a few people here. We have, and Gabby, you'll be able to help me here with the speakers, or with our sponsors. The coffee and the donuts, they were brought to you by Midland College. Wow, well, thank you guys so much for donating that. And West Texas IT, thank you so much. Thank you, we really appreciate that. So Founders Blend is free, and it remains free because of local businesses, local community partners that help to donate and keep it going. And so that is a huge thanks to you guys. And also if you're thinking, hey, I really like what Founders Blend is about, it's free, it's open to the public. I would like to help ensure that it keeps that way and it stays that way. Well, let us know and we can get you plugged in as a future sponsor down the road. All right, well, before we get started here, I'm gonna give you a little background. You're gonna, like I said, hear from 2 businesses, and the first business you're gonna hear from is Rig ID. And then you're also going to hear from Brothers Moving Company. So those will be the 2 businesses you hear from. And here's a little background about Rig ID. Al and Krista Escamilla, they are the proud owners of Rig ID and Escamilla Media. In April 2025, they are celebrating 10 years since opening their store, a milestone reflecting their commitment and their love for the community. Krista is also the host of the Krista Escamilla Show, an inspiring podcast that has been sharing stories of West Texans for 3 years. Together, Al and Krista have built their business over the past 25 years and raised their 4 children in West Texas, a place they proudly call home. What they love most about doing business here? Well, what is it? The people. Krista and Al.
Thank you so much, and good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. First of all, show of hands, how many business owners do we have? Yes, fellow business owners. Keep your hands up if you love what you do. Awesome. Keep your hands up if you have ever wondered if you're going to make payroll. Keep the doors open. If you're going to have employees to hire, keep your hands up. Yeah, see, look, you're in good company. You are in good company. I like to say that I am an entrepreneur by marriage, not necessarily by spirit. Spent 30 years in broadcasting, but my husband, Al, he is the most amazing businessman because he is creative, he has ideas, he invents things, and then he knows how to bring them to fruition. Do all of them work? No. But some of them do. And so that's what we are here to talk about today, is about the things I focus on my podcast, Dream Big, Believe, and Never Give Up. Because those three things, if you do those three things, anything's possible. But you don't know if you don't try. And so I think that is very, very important. And we've tried a lot of things and through the years. I also want to talk a little bit about how we started Rig ID, because it kind of came out of what we felt was necessity. At the time I was in broadcasting, and we would get an email daily on a fatality in the oil field. And then a week later in the newsroom, we would get another press release saying, sorry, I can't identify the person. They haven't, we don't know who they are. And we just were talking about it one day, and we thought, this is so sad. There's got to be a way that oil companies and people that work in West Texas can identify their loved ones, because no one should go not knowing that their loved one has passed. So we came up with Rig ID bracelets, and that's how it started. Are we still a bracelet company? No, and that was 10 years ago.
We sold a lot of bracelets, though.
But we sold a lot of bracelets. But it has definitely transformed and pivoted, and that's another thing that that I'm going to let Al talk about, because he can really speak to the pivoting. Before we do that, I love fun facts. Hey, Sarah, nice to see you. Nice to see so many familiar faces here today. I want to point out that each and every one of you here today has something unique to bring to our community, and that's what makes each of you so special. So let yourself shine. Just go out there, be yourself, and I know each of you have a fun fact, and I can't wait to hear it, but I'm going to tell you Al's really quick. Fun fact, he's like, what are you going to say about me? Fun fact about Al is that he has invented 2 golf tools that have been brought to the market. And he also invented a clothing company that was in Nordstrom, and we went to the Latin Grammy Awards, and our shirts got on the George Lopez show. So there's a fun fact about Al, so I'm going to turn it over to my husband, who is the amazing businessman here. I'm just his biggest cheerleader.
I think amazing businessman is not the right statement. We have had a lot of ideas, and just real quick, because we're on a timer.
I took too much time, sorry.
When we
occupational hazard of.
I forgot how we opened Rig ID, but it was a bracelet. But when a friend of mine in 2015 opened Gateway Plaza, which was the shopping center next to Synergy, and in 2014 they had it completely sold out, and then we had a little bust, a little market correction. If anyone been here long enough to remember, and he came to me and he said, I gotta do something with the shopping center. So we decided that there was a marketplace for apparel, so we opened Rig ID, and we were gonna focus on becoming an FR company, and there was no local company doing it. And so we opened it with $600,000. We built our store for $350,000, and then the rest was all inventory. And that's how we started. And I'll never forget, I was in Jumborito, and I was just thinking, what are we gonna do? This is horrible. We had 10,000 square feet. And so I picked up the phone and I called Pioneer. And I talked to a lady named Susan, and I said, hey, this is Alice Scamia. We're an FR company. We have 0 customers. We're not quite sure what we're doing, but we'd like to see if we can come in and earn your business a little bit. And she said, well, today's your lucky day, because we've just decided to buy all new FR. And when I say all FR, I mean, so I walked in a horrible mood. I walked out thinking I'm about to retire on Pioneer.
Which did not happen, by the way.
And I felt that way until 2019, because it was amazing. We had 10,000 square foot warehouse full of Pioneer stuff. So then COVID hit, and I get a call one day, and she says, we sold our frac unit and we sold our well servicing unit. And so we're going to burn and bury every coverall and uniform that says Pioneer on it. We just need you to remove the logo. And I said, well, can't we sell them? She's like, no, you can't. We're going to bury them. I said, okay. So we lost all that business overnight. And then we had another company, Alamo Frac, and they sold to next year. So we turned into a grocery store for 90 days. And then our rent was about $14,000 a month. And so we decided to buy our own building. We bought our own building. I called a friend of mine from Monahans. His name's Bill Kent. He owns all the Kent Quicks. And I said, I want to be able to sell hats in your stores, because we were really good at making hats. We have a full embroidery shop. And so now if you walk into a Kent Quick, we're in 114 Kent Quicks. we go through about 5,000 caps a week. And so we created Richardson. Everybody knows a Richardson 112. So we spent a lot of time in Asia through a broker, knocking off knockoff artists is what we became. And so we took their best hats, and that's what we sell in Kent Quicks. And so the margins in hats are really good. But the moral of the whole story is that we've reinvented ourselves 3 different times, just from the bracelet to coveralls to caps from a grocery store. And so, I think what I would say to business owners is you just can't quit. You just can't give up. And then the last thing I would say is utilize your blessings, because I'm not blessed as an accountant. I'm not blessed as an MC. I'm blessed as a person that doesn't know how to take no as an answer. To me, no is a maybe, just not right now. And when Bill said, no, we can't sell $30 hats in our store, I said, give us a store. And so he gave us one, which was Kermit, was our first store. And we sold out in a day. So then we went to 5, then we went to 8. Then we created Midland Cap Company, which we brought Midland Cap Company hats today that Stammy can give out however she sees fit.
If you ask a question, you get a hat. Just throw it out there.
And so we became a hat store. And now Krista and I started another company called Thin FR, and that we're going to get back into the FR business. But that's kind of what we've done. And we went from pioneer to doing I think we would do $3.5 million a year with them just in coveralls to zero during COVID, and working our way back up. So I guess never quit. Utilize your blessings. First person I always hire is an accountant, because I want to make sure that our books are right and that we stay out of trouble tax wise. So I think we're out of time.
Well, that was great. You answered a lot.
Good job.
And you're gonna tell us more during this Q&A here.
You got it.
Come on up here. Well, I loved what you said about just constantly reinventing yourself. But I mean, man, when you get that call that Pioneer sold, that almost sold, that's got to do something to morale as a business owner. How do you just keep chugging along?
Well, I think the hardest part is telling the wife. and you have 4 kids, and they all play golf, and so you really don't have any choice. You just say, okay, well, they're not the only company in town. We're just going to go. We turned into a grocery store quick. And so the way we managed our grocery store was we had a list of customers. So we only allowed those customers to shop in our grocery store. And we sold out every day. And so we never laid off a person. You just have to be willing to shift gears so fast that you don't have time to mourn about it.
Yeah.
And we're going to pick back up. We'll become an FR company again this year. Matter of fact, we'll have the largest FR supply, because we're going to do an agreement with Kent, and they have 12 truck stops. So we'll become the largest FR provider. So it's not a matter of, again, it's not no, it's until we do it again.
Yeah.
So that's how you deal with it. You just keep on going, I think.
Yeah.
It's exhausting though.
There's a Lonnie, there's 5-hour energy, all sorts of things. And then there's so many businesses here in Midland that are run by a husband and wife, and there's a lot of people that you talk to, other entrepreneurs, that say, I cannot even imagine that. How do you make it work?
We have a rule. I'll let Krista tell you the rule.
Our role is you do you. I'm not going to change him. He's not going to change me. He has his gifts. I have mine. We partner up. I'm not going to always think of things the way he is. He's not always going to, but you do you. And I can't think of a time we've fought over the business. Can you? Mm-hmm. We fought one time in 25 years of marriage. I can pinpoint it. You ready? We were dancing on the dance floor, and I was a former dancer, and I was saying 5, 6, 7, 8. He said,
This was a 2-step.
He said there is no 5, 6, 7, 8. And so there you go. That was our big fight. But we just really have just honored each other's gifts through the years and support each other. And I know he does things I can't do, and vice versa.
And we just respect that. And with our kids, it's the same thing. I'm bad cop, she's good cop. Imagine that.
Did you guys know that? but I think also when you know your why, and of course our why is our 4 kids. I mean, that's why we do everything. That's why we've never given up. That's why when oil went to zero, and we didn't know what we were going to do the next day, that's why we didn't give up, was because we have those 4 kids that look to us, and we wanted to be the best and show them what it's like to never give up, because each and every one of you here today has had your highs and lows, and you know those lows are pretty low sometimes, but you know a high's around the corner.
I will say one more thing about COVID, because it just occurred to me. You remember the white uniforms that people wore to test? So during COVID, I invented the clean coat. And the clean coat was basically, so if you take that white, you see the insulation, the white insulation that drapes over houses when they're building them? It's the same fabric that you use. And so I partnered with a company in China, and we just took that same fabric of insulation from the house and put zippers on it and a hood, and we sold 500,000 of those during COVID between El Paso and Lubbock. So we had a U-Haul going every day from El Paso to Lubbock selling clean coats, and so I forgot about that, but
Yeah.
but it was nice because it was a full U-Haul almost every week. Lubbock Methodist, or is it Methodist Hospital in Lubbock? They're our biggest
UNC.
customer,
Yeah.
and they distribute it around the country. So yeah, that.
And that goes back to what Al is not scared to pick up the phone and call somebody and be told no. And he just started calling hospitals. After one hospital reached out to us on him, he just started reaching out, and what's the worst they can say? No. And so he's not scared of that. And I think that's as a business owner, you can't be scared to be told no.
I read last week this lady started a new business, and she teaches young adults how to talk on the telephone. And I was just
Baffled.
baffled.
And doesn't she get paid like $500 an hour?
$500 an hour.
I'm like, next job right there.
But if you have employees, you understand that, because I'll ask one of my employees, hey, did you talk to this customer? Well, I sent them a text. And you're like, well, can you pick up the phone and call them? Well, yeah, if they respond, and then I might follow up with an email. I'm like, no, let's call them. So
I love that. Yeah, but that's because everything goes back down to relationships,
It
and
does.
you don't necessarily get that over a text message or an email. Let's talk about how, you went from renting a space to then owning a space outright, and a space that you were like, people are like, wait, where are you buying a building?
Yeah.
Where are you buying a manufacturing kind of facility? Tell us about that journey.
Go ahead, Al.
I bought a hellhole. That's what I bought. It was Pete's Cabinet Shop, and it hadn't been cleaned or swept for sawdust in 48 years. He was there 48 years. No heating, no air conditioning, no plumbing. And it's on Terrell, which is right off of La Mesa. And so I'm Mexican, so I'm allowed to, I call it, I'm in Mexican downtown. And I'm proud of that, because we love our space. And I took Krista in there, and she walked in, and all she said was, she took about 5 steps in, and she goes, if you can see it, do it. And turns around and walks out.
True story.
But if you come
If
in,
you saw it, you would know that phrase right there took a lot of guts to say in the moment.
Yeah.
Because,
but I built her the nicest studio, and if you come in, we would love to have you, come see our store. But what we do now is we run embroidery 18 hours a day, 6 days a week, just for hats. And so every night they restock for Kent, and then every morning at 7, the crew comes in, picks up the hats, and takes them out to Kent's, whether it's shipping or whatever it may be. And so we built that facility for that, and it's come a long ways, and it's just getting better. We got a heater this year and a parking lot, which was a big accomplishment. So Sarah's been there; she knows we needed a parking lot. But yeah, it was a challenge, but we knew it. We knew we could do it, and I was tired of paying rent. I just wanted something that we could own. So it was a great investment.
How many people that resonates? I was tired of paying rent. I wanted something that I could own. But then finding the real estate in Midland can be tricky.
Yeah.
How did you land on that spot?
I drove by from Jumperito and
So a drive-by.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
Did it say for sale?
it just said for sale. So
Okay.
we actually walked in, and the guy was there, and he was ready to retire, and so he had all his equipment in there. And so I made him a deal of cash, and then I'd give him all the money from the equipment that he had, and he ended up coming out great with all the equipment.
Yeah, that's
So,
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And just from a drive-by, so thank you, Jump Burrito, for
Yes.
getting on that route there.
We thank Jump Burrito a lot.
And then, you know, another unique thing about Midland, and you guys know this just from having so many people on your podcast, Midland is a fairly young community. I mean, a median age of 31. Our biggest population is less than 4 years old. And you guys are kind of a testament to how family-oriented Midland is. But it can be hard, I imagine, to run a business and to have 4 kids any kids, but 4 alone. How did you do that? How do you manage owning a business and also being a parent at the same time?
I'd say a lot of faith and one day at a time. And just knowing your why you're doing everything. I love our community so much. I mean, I am a proud Midlander. The community has been as good to us, I believe. You know, we've had so many what I call earth angels here that have just showed up for us through the years. And really just those relationships, you mentioned relationships. The relationships we've made here in West Texas has definitely helped us to build our business, but also to love where we live, because I think that's important, to love where you live. And I have felt that every day. What do you think?
I mean, it's not easy. Krista did the morning show for what, 15 years? 10 years?
10 years, and then
it felt like
switched
20.
Yeah.
But she would get up every morning, you know, at 2:30 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and go to work, and then pick up kids afterwards. And I remember days on Wadley where, you know, the kids would say, "Mom fell asleep at the light today," and for a lot of years. And so it was tough, but you just keep supporting each other and know what your why is. And for us, it was our kids. And, you know, we have a Rice graduate and one Lubbock Christian graduate and another one at Lubbock Christian and one at Trinity. And so it was all worth it. And I don't think I'd change it. It was a lot of hours, but it was definitely worth it.
Yeah. Well, I love to hear that. And, you know, let's touch on the media background, because that is very unique to have the business background and then also the media background. And there's a lot of businesses where that media part can be second, you know, it can be an afterthought sometimes. Mm-hmm. How has that benefited Rig ID or just your brand?
Want to take it or me?
Well, I think Krista's amazing what she does. So it has definitely benefited our business. I mean, we have a second business called Escamilla Media, and we opened that where I'm trying to think, maybe 2008, and it's really evolved in what we've done. And Krista's show brings so much credibility to that, and we've helped a lot of companies in Midland put big deals together. We were a part of the Santa Rita Hotel, which is now the Omni, the Tapestry Hotel, which is going to break ground in the next 30 days, and other projects. And it's all because of the credibility that Krista's podcast and show has brought to us.
I think media and marketing is something both of us have loved for many years, with me being in the media, and then he's an amazing marketer. That's actually how we met. First day I was here in Midland 27 years ago, he was the financial advisor on Big 2 News. And we met my very first day here because he realized he wanted to be known as the expert in his field. And so we met through marketing. So he's an amazing marketer. And I feel like they go hand in hand. And now, I mean, let's face it, as a business owner, who doesn't have to be a social media content creator, right? I mean, you have to, because people aren't watching TV anymore like they used to. You used to be able to advertise in TV, advertise on the radio, and advertise in the newspaper, and that was it. Now, if you're not utilizing social media, you are missing out, because everyone's got their phone. Cue the phone! Everybody has their phone on them these days. But that is the best way to connect with your customers, because that's where they're at all day. I mean, look, how many of us don't have it within a hand's reach, real easy. And so I believe that has definitely helped us, and then we've been able to help some of our friends and just customers that have come to us asking for help to really highlight their business, because you have to be your biggest cheerleader in your business, and social media is the best way to do it these days. And so I really do feel like that it's gone hand in hand. And as far as the podcast goes, I'm a huge podcast fan. So looking at Second Story, we just had this talk here earlier today. I think everyone should have a podcast, because it really, you get to then share your content and what's passionate for you, and you can be the expert in your field because you are the expert in your field. And so if you can get on a podcast, do it, share your story. The more you share your story, the more people are going to think of you the next time they need your services, right? They're going to be like, oh yeah, I heard that person on the podcast. And oh yeah, I know I need a mortgage lender. Oh, I saw that one on social media. So I think that media and marketing today has changed a lot since when we first started a long time ago when the dinosaurs were around. But I feel like it is really an exciting time to be able to market your business, because you have control over that. And there's experts in the field that can help you do that too.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a great point. You have control over it. It just takes time,
Yes.
right? Just like everything else. Well, that's a good segue to, if anyone has any questions that they would like to text, you can do that, or you can ask in person.
There you go. So I have so many questions. Super curious about you guys' story. I love it. Congratulations on your success. But you really glossed over the grocery part.
That was during COVID. Yes.
I'm still trying to put that in my head, like grocery, but
You mean tell you how we did it?
yes, please.
So, Cisco Foods, you're familiar with Cisco?
Absolutely.
We opened an account with Cisco Foods. That way we
Our
didn't have,
brother-in-law is a Cisco rep.
yeah, that way we didn't have to go through like Affiliated, because Affiliated owns Lowe's, and now it used to be Porter's, and now they're all Lowe's. So we couldn't do that, but we looked at every avenue to do it. And so Cisco delivered to us every day. And so that's how we were able to open a grocery store, because they had access to eggs and flour and the things, the bread, that everyone was out of.
And you just cleared your floor space?
We cleared our store, and
That's amazing.
we bought a bunch of refrigerators, and it was a crazy time. Our employees went from selling coveralls to selling eggs from one day to the next.
It's a really impressive pivot. Like anybody that's ever worked or owns a retail store, like we call different distributors that's within our market to add a line or something like that. You found a whole nother business. Yeah. Like, oh, I just made a phone. You make it sound like you're just adding a line. Like you just made a phone call. Okay.
Yeah.
Impressive. Yeah.
So why'd y'all stay with Rig ID if y'all doing hats? Why not change the name? Why?
For tax purposes, we just, but we do own Midland Cap Company now. And it's a separate entity. But, you know, we did all of our SBA stuff through Rig ID, like everybody else did during COVID. And so we wanted to make sure that we were, you know, that we kept it to that. And everybody knew our name already. Well, not everybody. Probably nobody knew the name, but
And really the ID part is IDing.
Midland.
Is it IDing yourself, IDing your company, IDing who you are? That's part of the marketing as well, is, you know, we all have to get our brand out. And what better way than hats? So. Oh God, somebody picked besides me. Who picked it?
Go with camo hat.
Camo hat. Camo.
Yeah.
So I spent like close to 11 years in oil and gas before I left and started my insurance agency.
okay.
And I probably went through 15 FR suppliers in that time frame.
Mm-hmm.
How did y'all differentiate yourselves between the 150 other embroidery and FR shops in Midland, Odessa?
Well, that is a good question. So the only way to make it in the clothing business, has anybody heard of Lululemon? So what Lululemon does is they manufacture their own products, right? And then they sell online. So that that's how they started. Now they have brick and mortar. And so when we started, we realized, Krista said early on that we, got a line into Nordstrom. So we developed these relationships in Mexico and China. And so we started Permian FR Company, which was our clothing line. So the only way to survive is to improve your margins. And that's why we have Midland Cap Company. Because when you have your own line, you're able to control inventory and control spending and mainly, inventory. So our margins were good, our prices were good because we could compete with anyone. And I would say, doing any type of textile is to own it, is to start your own line. Because if we buy from Ariat, I'll just give you an example. Just to say an Ariat shirt is $100, and I'm probably going to buy it from Ariat for $60, and then I'm going to sell it to, ExxonMobil for that $100, and then we're net 90 with them or whatever. It's impossible for small business owners just to survive on net 90 when your margins are so bad.
That was the most surprising thing when we opened our store. We thought it was going to be like Dillard's and people were going to come in and pay us right away. Not in.
Yeah,
not
so
in
differentiate
Oregon.
ourselves was to make your own private label.
Gotcha.
I saw that one go first.
You said then FR. My husband works in the oil field,
Uh-huh.
doing survey, and so he is out there, in the middle of nothing. Like there's nothing that can blow up. There's nothing that can fall on him because he's there before anything. So then FR, is it like lighter, more breathable, more like? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so-
when can we expect it?
So
That's important.
so we tested it last year in one Kent Quick, and I think we started with 1,000 shirts, and I want to say we sold out in 2 weeks. So
And he created it for the Permian in mind with 100-degree weather.
but technology in fabric has changed so much, and so you can take a 4-ounce knit fabric now, which is a t-shirt fabric, and if you make it out of synthetic fabric, then it can be Cat 2 FR. If you use cotton that thin, then it's Category 1, and so you have to be really careful as to what the end user really needs. But we've learned that in the Permian Basin, if it doesn't freeze on October 1st, your winter gear is not going to sell. Because by the time it's January, the user is saying, we only have 60 more days of this. We're not going to go spend, $20,000 to buy our guys jackets. We'd rather not wear something that says that it's not FR than go spend that money. And so we're really focused on making apparel that is going to be cool and that breathes. And when I say cool, it's lightweight.
Yeah.
That's breathable.
It looks cool too.
Yeah, it is cool. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things we try to make it as cool as we can. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Well, we're gonna let this be the last question, but hold
Get him in
on
the
to
middle.
those questions
He's had
because
his hand
they'll
up.
be here
Yeah.
to ask them afterwards. But this will be our last question here.
So you guys have done grocery stores, FR, Rig ID, tons and tons of business. But what would you say that you have done differently than others in your space that has allowed for you to be as successful as you are?
We've never stopped hustling. I mean, I can't remember a day that we've called in sick. I mean, whether you're sick or not, you just, I mean, you just can't stop and you can't give up. You just can't give up. I mean, that's the biggest thing. And do whatever it takes. And I don't know. I think that's, and I don't know. I'm not very good at taking no for an answer. Again, no is maybe. I mean, I have a friend that bought a box to the Super Bowl when he thought the Cowboys were going to go a few years ago.
True story.
And he calls me up and he says, "Hey, I bought this box and I can't get anybody to buy it. Can you sell it for me?" And I said, "Yeah." So I sold it. I mean, you just.
You picked up the phone and called. Did you call first Marky Mark?
I called Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, and he responded. I called Mark Cuban. We sold it. I can't remember who we sold it to, but we sold it. So you just can't stop. You just can't give up.
And I'd say the thing that separates each and every one of you as business owner is you. You are what makes your business. And so I think our competitors are great. I don't look at it as competition. I look at it as community over competition. And I borrowed that from someone who ever said it on my podcast at one time. But I love that statement because it's so true. It's like I've had one of our competitors did call me one day and ask for advice. And I was like, absolutely. I mean, open book, we'll share whatever, because I would love for you to learn from some of the mistakes we made. So if I can share that, then I would love to help you, because everyone's different, even in your own space. You are you, and I am me, and and we can support each other and not look at it as oh, it's competition, I want to beat them. No, I want them to succeed too. I want them to do well too. I want everyone in this room for their dreams to come true. And so when you look at it that way, it sets you apart, I think, as well.
Well, that is so well said. Hustle and community over competition. I think that really, you've had so many, didn't they have so many good nuggets of wisdom there? So we so appreciate that. If you did get a chance to ask your question, don't fret. I really encourage you to ask them afterwards if you don't mind
And
sticking
I'll give you a
around.
hat still, so.
Look how cute those hats are too. Let's give the Escamillas a round of applause. Thank you guys for coming.
Good job, sweetie. Good job, good job. Thank you guys, and I wish you all the best.
And this mug is for you.
Thank you.
Now, fair warning, it is not dishwasher safe, but I feel like mugs could be in your wheelhouse soon enough.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeti's being great also.
That Yeti would be quite the upgrade. Well, thank you guys. And before we get started here, there's some empty seats in the middle, and there's a lot of people standing on the edges. So if we could scoot in, if you have an empty seat next to you, would you mind scooting in for us? That way we can have the people on the edge.
Fair warning.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That way you guys back here, there's room in the middle here, if you want to come, please. All right, we are going to jump right on in to our next speaker here, and you are going to hear from Brothers Moving and Storage, which was founded in 2014 by Paul Woodruff. And if you guys have questions for him, if you want to ask questions, maybe step outside just a little bit. Perfect, thank you. Okay, Brothers Moving and Storage, it was founded in 2014 by Paul Woodruff. It was started as a supplement to an oil industry downturn. That seems to be a pattern. Brothers' focus has always been on quality and service. Brothers continues to grow and continues to service all of Texas with their heart right here in Midland. Without further ado, Brothers Moving.
Thank you, everyone. Good morning.
And you're welcome to stand if you'd like to. That way people could hear you better, whichever.
Yeah, sure. I'll do that.
If you know, we don't have mics this go around, but
Sure.
not everyone has the broadcasting background there.
You got it. You got it. Again, good morning. I got 5 minutes to tell my life story and 11, 12 years of business. I am a true testament and a poster child for what God can do in a person's life through much belief in Him and a lot of hard work, tenacity, and a will to not give up. I'm a California kid, but I got to Texas as soon as I could. I struggled through school every day at school. Only enjoyed two things about it: lunch and recess. Everything else I struggled in. I was good at basketball, but that was about it. And lunchtime. But struggled academically. Barely made it through high school. Actually failed out of college my second year. At the same time, because I started working early in life, I had a full-time job at 16 years old. At 21, I was leaving college, and I found out I had 3 herniated discs in my back. Had back surgery at 21 years old. Got back home to California. Got well. Met a great gal. Got married. 2003. We were married a couple of years. Struggled. Terrible credit. Jobs weren't paying that great. We were trying to piece our life together. We were a young married couple. And my brother-in-law calls me one night and says, "You want to make a bunch of money in the oil field?" I was like, "Yeah, tell me where to go." So my wife was like, "Sounds good, go to the interview." I flew out here and got an interview with the company here. They hired me on the spot. A week later, we loaded our items up in a U-Haul, and we were now West Texans. Actually left a moving company to come out here, work in the oil field. Worked in the oil field about 4 or 5 years. Had enough of working out in the field and working 100 hours a week. And actually went back into the moving industry for another couple of local moving companies. And then we actually went back into the oil field with my brother-in-law selling drill bits. And that fizzled out, hit a downturn, and he says, "Hey, what are we going to do to make some money?" And I was like, "Great question." He's like, "You always talked about that moving company. Let's talk about that." So we talked about it, and again, I had some great mentors throughout my early career. One thing, I wasn't the smartest guy, but I was smart enough to listen to people that were smarter than me. And I was humble enough when somebody would tell me, "Hey, this works," or "This doesn't work," I remembered that. And so somebody once told me that if you're not visible to your marketplace, people won't know to use you. They don't know to call you. So one of the first things we did is we got marketing going. And got a cool logo going. This is back when people were using Craigslist. We're using Craigslist, believe it or not. We actually got business off Craigslist, passing out flyers, meeting with realtors. And that's literally how we started a moving company. He actually loaned me $2,000 to buy some pads, some dollies. We rented trucks at the time. Back in 2014, Brothers Moving and Storage started. The first 4 years, I actually had sales contracts that I was actually working along with building my company at the same time. So I was working in the oil field, back in the oil field, selling tools, and then between that, I was building a moving company as well with my brother-in-law and some other partners, friends. And so for the first 5 years, I was absolutely terrified to spend any money. Wasn't going to do it. I think I would buy maybe a lunch twice a week. Other than that, I was not spending money unless it was for fuel or shirts or marketing. And that worked. We saved money. We built our bank account up to what we didn't realize was coming. We've seen oil downturns. We've seen COVID. We've seen economic disruptions as we've all weathered that. And thanks be to God. Let me back up. So COVID hits, and I remember my right-handed guy, Mike, comes to me. He's like, "Hey, we got 4 guys with COVID, and we've got these jobs all stacked up." He's like, "What are we going to do?" And honestly, I answered. I said, "I don't know." One thing I do know that we're going to do is, number one, we're going to shut down for 5 days. We're going to shut down. We're going to get everybody well, and then we're going to reconvene. But the other thing we're going to do is we're going to keep showing up. At that point, they hadn't figured out if you're an essential business or not, or if you could operate or not. I said, until somebody comes and knocks on my door and says, "Hey, you're done," we're going to be in business. So we kept showing up and looking at emails and looking at news. And finally, the list comes out, and transportation businesses were essential business. Thank God we can still operate. We've been super blessed to weather the storm. Have we made all the right decisions? No. Have we made some mistakes? Absolutely. But we learned from the mistakes, and we just kept showing up. We kept doing what we knew to do, what was right. This is our 11th year in business. We are a moving and storage company. located right in Odessa. We have a 12,000 square foot warehouse there. We have 6 trucks in our fleet. We're a smaller company. But we do big things. We've worked for just about all the oil companies here in town, just about all the realtors in town. We've moved a lot of furniture, household and office furniture. We do packing as well, of course, and storage. It amazes me. Our name is literally Brothers Moving and Storage. And people will literally ask, hey, do you know somebody that can store our packages? I'm like, I may know a guy. So we do offer storage as well. We're excited. We continue to grow our team. In fact, Essence Pride is with us today. She is our business development, super shining star in our organization. She goes around and smiles and just develops relationships and develops new business. Does a great job at it. So thank you. But yeah, we have our business is composed of just great people that in the last couple kind of touch bases on this, that they gather people around them that are good at what they do. And I just like myself, I step out of the way. I let them do what they're great at. I do what I'm good at, and that makes us a great team. We're based in Odessa. Our bread and butter is West Texas. This is where we do the majority of our business, but we can do business anywhere in Texas. We get people that call us in Houston and say, hey, we're in Houston, we're moving to Midland. Can you come pack us, load, and deliver to Midland? Absolutely, we can do that. If it makes sense, we can do it. Any questions?
Well, that's a perfect segue. Thank you for taking all around of applause.
Well, I love that the 2 businesses that we featured today, they just are really good at pivoting. And Paul, it sounds like you have been really good at pivoting from whether it be oil to moving to oil to moving. And you also work with family. You work with your brother-in-law. What has that relationship been like in running a business and starting a business, all the while still kind of maintaining the job that you were doing in the oil field?
It was tough. Thank you. It was tough, but I was committed. My dad used to tell me something literally almost every day growing up. He said, we're working today for a better tomorrow. My dad was not educated. He wasn't a well-known guy in the community, hardworking guy. And he was committed to work today for a better tomorrow. So I grew up hearing that, and you hear something enough, you start to believe it. Yeah. So I just knew that if we kept showing up, no matter what the climate was, no matter what the news was saying or what COVID was doing or whatever, something good was going to happen.
And sure enough,
it did.
Yeah,
it did. I still probably monthly, I talk to my right hand guy, Mike Holsey, who's been a huge help to me. I wish he was here so I could celebrate him publicly. But probably monthly, we look back, it was like, how in the world did we make it through all that? And we have, and we've been super blessed. And again, we just keep showing up. We keep showing up. We found certain resources, like you actually touched bases on, small businesses finding help to do what they do. Our business is tough because we need people to come to work every day and be happy about moving furniture. It's not for everybody. And then we're competing with the oil field, as we all are. So we've actually, we did a ton of research, but we found a recruiting company actually recruits people for us weekly. It's always sending us new talent. And and that separates us from all of our competition, because where our competition may just have a crew or two, or hey, we're struggling right now to find people. We don't struggle with our workforce. We always have new faces coming through the door.
And that's pretty incredible. I mean, how many businesses here would love for a recruiter to help with maintaining or getting their team, building their team? But touch on maintaining your team, because when I met with you and I got to see your business, it seems like you guys are friends above all, and you know each other. You've just created a little community amongst your business.
Yeah, so I was actually working for a local moving company. I worked for two here before I started my own. And who here has ever worked just for a bad boss? Most of us have. And honestly, I worked for a bunch of bad people. Like I said, started working a full-time job at 16, and just had some bad experiences with bad bosses. And one of the many things that really excited me about starting my own business is that I could be in control of how people were treated.
Yeah.
And so, considering the business model, again, wanting people to be happy about coming and moving furniture all day, I said, I have an opportunity to get guys and gals in here and treat them right, talk to them correctly, make them feel valued, and make them feel like they're part of a team that really cares about them as people. And so that's what I would say, that's what really keeps our team together, and has really created a foundation for continued building.
Well, I mean, kudos to you, Paul, because there's a lot of people that have worked for bad bosses and continue that cycle. And so the fact that you were intentional about making that a priority has certainly paid off, it seems like. Again,
I'm just a kid that was raised by two really hardworking people, but lived paycheck to paycheck. And my parents, my mom was a pastor. My dad worked at a local newspaper, and we're just real people. And my dad was a guy that when he's coming up to a stop sign, he sees somebody coming across the crosswalk. He said, "Hey, son, don't come right up on people. Ease back a little bit. Make them feel comfortable. Don't make them feel like you're going to hit them with the car." That's what kind of parents I had. So they really instilled that kind of thought and approach with people in my life.
And that never goes out of style.
No.
That approach to people and having that touch with them. Any questions here for Paul? I know we had a lot of questions before, so I'm like, all right, we'll get started. Yes.
I've known Paul for a little while, so this is kind of a pointed question, but how do you implement your faith and values in your business to make it more successful?
Yeah, good question. So it's a dance because you don't want to just come out and make people feel uncomfortable because you believe something doesn't mean everybody else does. But I really have taken the stance that you don't always have to say how you believe, just show people. And so, I'm in a position where I have to make a lot of decisions, and sometimes they're hard decisions in the heat of the moment. And so those are moments that I get to show people, hey, this is what I'm talking about when I tell you about my faith. This is what makes me different. When my bad bosses would throw stuff across the room or just point people out or say derogatory words or blame everybody, we take a Christ-centered approach. And 100% of the time, no, I'm just a man and I make mistakes. But I think again, what makes me different is that I have went to my team and apologized. Say, hey, I was way out of line, and let's come back together and let's move forward successfully as a team.
Wow. Well, that kudos to you for doing that. Yes.
Great story. Thank you so much for that. You mentioned that you're anywhere in Texas. So as you scale, as you continue to grow, do you think that you'll be able to service the entire country at some point? I mean, do you have plans to scale that size?
Now, if you'd asked me this 11 years ago, yes, we're going to take over the world. We're going to have a truck on every street. COVID changed my mind on that. We actually had an office in Dallas during COVID. And of course, with all the unknowns, I decided to just shrink down and just come back home. So we no longer have that office there. And, you know, West Texas has always been tried and true. You know, even now with all the economic stuff going on, have we taken a hit? Yes, a lot of businesses have. But we're still operating. We still have trucks on the road even today. So the answer is that our focus is West Texas. We have authority to do moving anywhere in Texas. I'm not taking a truck to Houston to do a 2-hour move and then drive home. But again, if you have a bunch of moving to do in Dallas or Houston or El Paso or Austin or wherever it may be in Texas, or something that makes sense, absolutely we'll go. We can do that. So that's answered that question. But really, honestly, our focus, we're pretty much committed to West Texas and the surrounding region. Yes, sir.
Well, first, I wanted to just give you congratulations on the leadership. You immediately celebrated her, mentioned wanting to celebrate your other guy, and that's huge. It speaks a lot. And it kind of touches on what she initially said at the beginning as far as maintaining people. You know, culture is so important in the workplace. What are some specific things that people can take away as far as developing culture? Because obviously it's very important to you there at your work. How would you describe that, and what are some thoughts to take away on developing workplace culture?
Be intentional. Be intentional. Be authentic. Be who you are. And be willing to say, hey, this isn't a really good quality about myself, and this isn't a good way to run a culture or run a business. This isn't probably the best culture for a business or for people. So I need to change that. Be humble. And focus on people. People create good businesses. I don't know why, but I kind of came up in business with guys that really thought that they were the sole reason why the business operated. And if I leave, the whole thing crumbles. And that's toxic. It's terrible. And the truth is that great companies are composed of a bunch of great people that do great things every day. So focus on people, treat people right. Treat people the way you want to be treated. That goes a long way for culture. It really does. Do it every day.
Well, I got another question here, and speaking of culture and just a workforce, what is the process like working with a recruiter to gain employees?
It's a beautiful thing. So the price point would shock many of you of how, number one, how inexpensive it is. They're actually a company that focuses primarily on moving companies and building workforces for moving companies nationwide. It's actually called Move Up Consulting. But you know, again, we were turning every leaf. we were trying to get real creative in finding people because, again, we needed people to be happy and show up to move furniture every day. And there was times when we were a young company, I had 4 guys that would show up. That's it. And it made it tough. But after beating our heads on the wall for many years, we found this company, and it was almost too good to be true. And I was like, I at least got to try it to see if this is real or not.
Right.
And Lily, just tell them your needs. Hey, we need drivers, we need movers, we need packers, we need salespeople. And you plug it in, they do what they do, and about a week later, you start to see people come in for interviews. It has literally changed our business. Marketing and recruiting are 2 things that I'll go down with the ship with. I will never get rid of, because you got to have people to do what we do. You got to have marketing, because without marketing, people don't know you exist. But recruiting it's separated us from our competition too, where we can ramp up. Right now we have, I think yesterday you told me we have about 16 field personnel, where the average smaller moving company is going to have about 6 guys.
Wow.
And that's all good until the need becomes great during summertime, and everybody's like, we need help. And you're like, hey, we're booked out a month because we only got 5 guys that show up.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that's really separated us. Yeah.
Well, Paul, you have said so many great things. I'm gonna have people. We have time for one more question here, and then we'll wrap up. Last question. Anybody?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yes.
What was the last operational issue that you solved?
Operational issue that we solved.
Whether it's logistics or...
Yeah. The first thing that came to my mind, we've had our CRM now for 3 years. But man, we used to literally send emails and spreadsheets and Google Docs just to book a move or to send out reminders and stuff. So again, did some industry research, found a CRM that we run our sales, our storage inventory through storage business. We dispatch through, billing through. I mean, it's literally a one-stop shop. We can text through, we can email through it, send through, automated reminders through it. It's a super powerful system. And it took us from about 12 spreadsheets down to one CRM, one place that handles everything. So super powerful for us.
How many of you are like, I need to know that program and implement it? Well, let's give Paul a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Appreciate you.
That was so cool. Thank you. Well, thank you guys so much for coming out to Founders Blend this month. As a reminder, in March here, we will not be doing a Founders Blend in the morning. We are going to be doing an anniversary mixer at Second Story from 5 to 7. So again, March 20th, mark your calendars. All of this will also be on social media. And then April 2nd, we will have a Founders Blend meeting, and that will be at Second Story. Oh, okay, so I guess we are March, so there will be, okay, I'm just now getting the numbers of that. But how fun that we're going to switch it up here in a bit and have an evening mixer. So for those of you where mornings, it's hard to make, try to get there and enjoy the evening at Second Story. Okay, well, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you coming out. Thank you. And go and introduce yourself to Please Entrepreneurial.